Well, then it is just mind boggling as to how events in Fiji have shaped up in the period after 2006. Now, the question that immediately comes to mind is how has Fiji come to all of this? I mean, what do you attribute the total deterioration of Fiji to what we see today?
Yeah, well, two sets of factors, Sashi. I mean, honestly, one is the senior military officers' coup culture since 1987, right? That's
Hmm.
one. And the second one is after 2006, especially, right? There's an active collaboration of civilians, and these are good people. They're good people. I mean, in my book, right? And I'll talk a little bit about them, right? Who in 2006 came and supported the military government and everything else that they did after that, right? In the firm in the great belief that they were doing good for Fiji. So I mean, I can take them in order, Sashi, because this is a
Yes.
horribly
All
horribly
right.
difficult, complex situation. Eh?
Okay. So let's look at the first issue raised by you. What
Yeah.
do you mean when you attribute Fiji's total deterioration to
Yes.
the military officers' treasonous coup culture? What do you
Yes.
mean by that?
Well, uh, I actually, one of your guests on your program, Sashi, was Graham Davis, right?
Yes.
And his grub sheet in the last couple of years has gone steadily more and more in explaining what is wrong with Fiji. And I think everybody should actually read his grub sheet Facebook, because he says a lot of good things and he reveals a lot because he was on the inside, with Benny Marama and Kayum. But there's one thing which he said, in his program, which I actually quite disagree with, which is that he said the RFMF, they're all honorable men and women. Now, you
Right.
know, my inside sources, right, the military people I have worked with over the years since 2000, they actually tell me it is completely the otherwise, and the thing is that everybody focuses on Rambuka because he obviously did the 87 coup, right? But to me, it is wrong to focus on him, right? Because I tell you what, first coup, had this coup failed, Rambuka would have been shot for treason.
Hmm.
And I'm quite sure he's actually talked about it, and he knew it. But the question is, why would the third in command in the military do the coup? Well, who was the first in command? The first in command was Ratu Ipeli Neletikau, one of the Bawan chiefs, right? And his father-in-law was the prime minister, right? President at the time. Sorry, president at the
Hmm.
time, right? And old army people, the people who have been advising me, my friends, have told me that the strange thing was that before this 87 coup, a whole lot of very good professional soldiers were sent overseas to serve in the Middle East. In Lebanon, where people like Matareti Sarasau, Major Matetini, Major Meli Saumbulini Nayau, Major Boloy Tamana, Kadi Solomone, Captain Stevita Bukarau, Manu Levu, Jackson Evans, Momoy Valu, Servakula Sambade. In Sinai, and I'm reading here because this is, this is doing justice to a lot of people, right? Major Jerry Wanganisau, Captain Arthur Songo, Major Waningolo, Captain Sam Pickering, Lieutenant Patrick Powell, Lieutenant Patrick Hennings, right? And the good officers in the military believe that had they been all in Fiji, right, maybe the coup might not have occurred, right? So the most telling thing to me is that just before the coup, the commander himself knew that meetings were taking place, planning the coup, including one in Rewanga, where Ratu Mara's son, Finau Mara, attended together with Inoke Kumbumbola and, all the other guys, right? Uh, uh, he went off to Perth to receive a naval boat.
Hmm.
The coup is about to happen. Why would you leave the country? And that the coups are being planned and plotted. And well, I think any idiot in Fiji can understand why a commander would prefer to be out of the country, because it was a trick played later by somebody else as well, right? And
Hmm.
and and the thing is, well, look, let's just go by the facts, right? Even though he was a commander, he did not oppose the 87 coup, but he soon received many benefits, right? He was appointed to the diplomatic service. After the 2006 coup, he became a minister in the interim government of Garase. After the 2006 coup, he became a vice president and then president. He rubbished the Yash Ghai draft constitution on spurious grounds and himself signed the 213 Qayyum constitution. I won't say into law, but he signed it, right? And as Speaker of the Parliament, he's been muzzling and controlling the opposition, for how many years now, right? And I would suggest to listeners in Fiji, right, and this is my honest opinion, right, that everyone in public sees Fiji as a two-man show, right? And they think, oh, one is the ventriloquist and one is a puppet and all that. But I don't think that is a correct characterization. There are people behind the scenes, and in particular, there's a one-man person who is behind the show who has been in control all along, even though he hasn't become prime minister. Although at one stage in 2000, there was talk about him becoming prime minister. But, he and his family, his brother was involved there in the 2000 coup and all that. And, there are military officers, Sashi, who are happy to let Mr. Showman perform.
Mhm.
Let him dance around, speak every day to the public. Let him manage or mismanage the ministries, as long as their biscuits keep coming onto their bowl, as long as they keep feeding, right? So, it's not a two-man show by any means. I actually think you have to say it's a three-man show. And because there are people who, in the military hierarchy, right, who have not been honorable men, and they have supported military coups. And to me, it's all exemplified if you analyze what happened in 2000.